We're very happy to have Father Andrew Apostoli with us. I understand he was one of the co-founders of the Franciscan Friars of the Renewal. And I remember seeing some kind of thing on the EWTN one night, and you're supposed to decide which was Father Groeschel and which was Father Apostoli. And I must admit that I picked the wrong one. They must be twins. And we were looking for someone with name identification, and we knew that Father Apostoli was known far and wide by all those who watch EWTN and listen to Catholic radio. And so we're very happy that Father made the trip from New York, Yonkers, and was able to come here to California. He may not want to go back now after he's experienced this California weather. We welcome Father to talk to us. He's also the postulator for the canonization of Archbishop Fulton Sheen. And he's an author and writer, and his book, as I mentioned earlier, it can be gotten over at the Ignatius Press table, and I happen to be reading it right now, and it's a very good book. Recommend it. Thank you, Father.
Thank you very, very much for that kind, warm welcome. And Bishop Sheen used to say, if you clap before a speaker begins to speak, you have faith. If you clap during the talk, you have hope. And if you clap at the end, you have charity. So we're right off to a good start here. The Father mentioned about when they put Father Benedict and I side by side on EWTN, I told Father Benedict, I said, you better do something. People are going to think we're the same person. Even Mother Teresa, who knew Father Benedict so well, got me mixed up with him one day. I was in a room and she happened to walk in, and it was she and I. She took a quick look at me and she goes, Father Benedict, how are you? I said, Mother, it's not Father Benedict, it's Father Andrew. Father Andrew, you look like Father Benedict. See, that's the problem when we go to the same barber and the same tailor and everybody looks alike, in the Friars of the Renewal. But it's a real pleasure for me to be out here with you in this beautiful city named after St. Francis. I was looking forward to this and the beautiful rally, for focusing on the wonderful work of a great servant of God, Father Patrick Peyton, his work on the family Rosary Crusade. After I did a lot of preparation for this talk and so on, I feel like, we need to, in his spirit, to spread a tremendous rosary rally across the United States. Don't you think so? In every diocese, in every parish, in every home. That's where it's going to begin, in every heart. You can say the rosary personally, but you can say it together. Even Pope John Paul, when he gave us that beautiful letter on the rosary, said the rosary is a beautiful prayer to pray together. And as Father Peyton always reminded us, the family that prays together stays together. And I want to give a little testimony to Father Peyton's influence in my own life, because when I was a youngster, my family, we said the family rosary. I didn't like when my father chose the litany of the saints, because that was always the longest one. After we finished the rosary, we had a litany. I always felt, well, that litany seems to never end. But I have to say that when we would finish praying the rosary as a family, we'd stand up and we'd often comment on how we had a great feeling of joy in our hearts, of peace. And that was the influence that Father Peyton brought into so many homes and so many hearts. He brought the peace of God. And the rosary is the prayer of peace. So I want to greet you with the greeting of St. Francis. He taught us to say, may the Lord give you his peace. So we talk today about the beautiful gift of the rosary. Let me find my talk here. I got it in here somewhere, and here we go. You know, Pope John Paul II, way back in 1976, he wasn't even Holy Father yet, made a comment that we are, in the world, in the greatest spiritual struggle of the Roman Catholic Church's 2,000-year history. He said, and many Catholics are totally unaware this battle is going on. I think we're more aware of it now, almost 30, 40 years later. We're aware that there's a great spiritual battle going on. Our faith, our Catholicism, and our values. See, he said, what's at stake in this battle is not one nation or one aspect of the faith. He said it's the whole Catholic culture, Christian culture that has built up for 2,000 years. And we see it happening. We see it happening, we're getting, in a way, almost like, breaking a rock, piece by piece. For example, at the basis of our Catholic culture is the respect for life. And now we've got abortion, we've got euthanasia, we've got assisted suicide and embryonic stem cell research. All of these things are attacking life. Then we have the family. The family as God gave it to us. A husband and a wife with the children. And today so many people are just living together without benefit of marriage. And so many now with same-sex marriages and so on. All of these things are hitting at the foundation of a Catholic culture. And so the Holy Father said this is a great struggle. And again, we're even unaware, so many unaware. But Pope Benedict, now, as he has called for the new evangelization, he said we've got to evangelize not the countries that never heard about Christ before. We got to go back and re-evangelize the countries that used to know Jesus, used to know the Catholic faith, and so on, and get them stirred up. This is what we've got to do. He said a wind, that's the way he described it, a wind came across Western Europe and North America and has brought a darkness, he said, so dark that people can no longer perceive good from bad, right from wrong. They can't see it anymore. And this is why he said we need to evangelize once again. And again, what's at stake is our whole Christian culture and foundation of life. Respect for life, respect for the family, and respect also for our freedoms. The world wants us to keep religion, worship, just a private thing. Just do it on Sunday. Don't bring it into your work or into the society on Monday. It's a private thing. No, it's not. Not if we're going to live what Christ lived. We have to proclaim the gospel, right? Every day of the week. It's important. I remember an Irish Christian brother years ago, he told me a little jingle. He said, Charlie was a Catholic, so he went to Mass on Sunday, but Charlie went to hell for what he did on Monday. See, he wasn't bringing his faith into everyday living. And that's what we have to do, brothers and sisters. We must bring the faith. And we can't do it alone. St. John Bosco had a very famous dream. I'm sure all of you are familiar with that. Remember they saw the ship of the church in stormy waters, surrounded by a whole fleet of enemy ships that were firing cannons and with battering rams were trying to destroy the ship of the church. And then he saw these two columns come out of the sea. Remember, the top of the higher column was the Eucharist. The top of the lower column was the Blessed Mother. And he realized, the Pope who was guiding the ship of the church realized if I could only bring the ship between those two columns, it would be saved. And when he got done describing this dream to his students, they're the ones who copied it down, he said, I foresee that in the next century, which was the last century, the 20th century, he said, I foresee that some of the greatest struggles in the church's history await her. And God is giving only two means to save the church: devotion to the Eucharist, devotion to the Blessed Mother. And don't they always go together, hand in hand? You can't separate love of Jesus and the Eucharist and the love of Mary. You can't do that. And thank God, we see devotion to the Eucharist increasing in many places. The holy hours. Bishop Sheen was big on that. Do you know that for 62 years, he had made a promise in the seminary. He was inspired by a little Chinese girl who gave her life for the Eucharist. And he said, if that little girl could risk her life, I can spend 1 hour of every day of my life, because Jesus asked for that in the gospel. Didn't he tell the apostles after the Last Supper? He had ordained them as priests. And he said to them in the garden, watch and pray 1 hour with me. So Bishop Sheen made his promise to spend 1 hour every day before the Blessed Sacrament. He called it the hour of power, the hour that makes my day. And he kept it faithfully for 62 years. One time, he was traveling. Remember, he was national director for the missions, and he was traveling, and he flew from the United States to Paris overnight. He took one of those red eyes, which I have to take back to New York tonight. And I guess he was so tired when he got to Paris. He went to the church, he sat down to make the holy hour. Next thing he knew, he woke up an hour later. He slept through the whole thing. And he said to Jesus in the Eucharist, he said, "Lord, did that holy hour count?" And he felt like Jesus said to him, "Well, that's the way the apostles made the first one." So the holy hour, adoration, the Mass, that's the key, the highest point of our devotion to Christ, Holy Mass. But then coupling with that, joining with that, is our devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary. And her coming to Fatima, as Pope John Paul II said of Fatima, in Fatima, Mary summed up the entire 20th century. She told us what was going to happen. World War I, which was raging at the time, would end. World War II would come if people didn't live good lives. Communism would come and spread its errors around the world, provoking wars, Korea, Vietnam, Cuba, and provoking famines and persecution of the church. And we've had it all. And so our Blessed Lady was preparing us. And one of the things that Our Lady stressed at Fatima was the Rosary. I wrote that book, Fatima for Today. I encourage you to read it. Not because I wrote it, but because it's got a message. The message of Mary is very important. I believe that this is the only message we have that clearly spells out what we must do if we want peace, if we want the triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. We must listen to our mother. She's told us what to do. She told us what was coming. So if she knew what was coming and she told us this is work to stop it, well, then we should trust her. She gave us the plan. We don't have to come up with a new plan. We got it right here in Fatima. What we have to do is live it every day.